Hi, welcome to Practical Privacy. Today we're going to look at the challenge of building retention schedules to cover multiple jurisdictions and data categories. And I'm delighted to have with me today Dr. Avishay Klein, Head of Privacy, AI and Cyber Department for Barnea, Jaffa, Lande. Welcome,
Thank you,
Avishay.
Orla. It's amazing being here. Thank you for inviting me. Interesting topic.
Extremely, and one that will resonate with everyone, I think. So maybe start off, let's say, by giving us a little bit more context into the particular challenge.
So, if I'm thinking about one of the biggest challenge I faced, as part of my advice on privacy and AI, I think the issues of data retention and how building it correctly, this is one of the main challenges. I think that people are still struggling understanding how to do it right. Like there are two main, I would say, approaches here. One approach which I saw is let's do it by the book. Let's take a specific processing activity, do it one by one, and then start building a specific retention policy on every processing activity in every specific jurisdiction and have a very, very robust policy, and then go from here, and then we start to implement it. It's not going really easy because this way it means you need all this relevant uh, unified you need all these relevant departments which will be on board. You need marketing and you need HR and you need the R&D, and everyone has his own relevant policies and his own specific areas of work. And then you are starting to tell them, okay, you cannot retain the data more than, I don't know, 1 year. And you need to delete this specific data type of data, but you can maintain this type of data. If you're working in UK, you can save it for 6 months, but if you're working in Israel, then you can save it for 3 years. It doesn't work, and it becomes much more complex, mainly if we already put together the issues of unstructured data, which is completely different. So the issues of retention becomes a major issue. How can we implement it and make it work?
100%, and quite a stressful challenge, I think, to achieve. So, what have you tried, or what have you seen tried that didn't work?
So
Basically,
basically, I was a DPO of a big company, 30,000 employees. And back then, when we started working on the GDPR, it was about, 2018. And what usually company did back then is, okay, let's be in compliance with the GDPR. So let's do all the policies. So companies, wrote robust data retention policy, did the mapping together with the retention, and then started to do a specific policy on data retention top down, saying, okay, we need to have a specific data retention and you need to delete it in 6 months and 1 year, depending on the relevant territory. And then the issue became that now we need to implement it. And then you are sitting with the relevant teams, and the teams are saying, come on, are you kidding me? How can I do it? I don't even have the technical capability of deleting it with 6 months or 1 year. And what do you expect? That I will have now a team of 5 people who only just do data deletion and data access request because it's combined with directly to this? It doesn't make any sense. So this was, the first drill we tried, and we found out this is not the correct approach, and we need something else in order to really implement it. Otherwise, you are just having a really, really nice policy, 30 pages policy with important processes for every department, but nobody implements it. And this is the most important thing overall. If we don't implement it, why did we do it?
yeah, which I think is quite common. So, what did you finally discover did work?
It's like the 80/20, So I decided let's try to take a more unified approach, which may not bring me to 100% in terms of compliance. It will not be accurate in a way which every specific processing activity will have its own data retention type, a data retention mechanism, but try to go to the, let's say, mechanism which will be a unified approach, which will go with most territories and with most relevant departments in the relevant firm, in the relevant company. So what I did, for example, because I advise to multinational companies, is first of all to take the GDPR as a golden standard. It's really easy to do. Like, yes, you have other specific retention types in Hungary and in France, which require you to retain it more. But let's start from the basic. Let's take the GDPR as a golden standard and then take it to relevant pillars. So you have the pillars of users, you have the pillar of employees and financial data, and you have the pillar of marketing. These are the main three pillars. Now, don't do, in my eyes,
Yeah.
a specific, a retention table to each processing activity within marketing, within the product, within R&D. Go with these pillars, and in each pillar, find the relevant time frame which makes sense. Sometimes it will be 7 years, sometimes it will be 1 year, but make the most, I would say, make the relevant requirement applicable not only on the data of how much time I'm retaining the data, but what are my other measures in order to make sure that I'm staying ahead with the compliance effort. So, for example, don't be so keen on deleting the data, anonymize the data. Sometimes prefer the technical possibility of limiting access, doing the data as pseudonymization. These are much easier solutions for the business to digest, and in terms of privacy, are quite well. So no need, to take a specific approach. Take a holistic approach, make it work, make work with the business, and it will make much more sense in my eyes.
Certainly sounds much more achievable.
Yeah.
So if you could go back and start again, what would you do differently?
So I would think that the most important thing in general in the work of a DPO is understanding the business. Work with the teams. First of all, talk with the marketing, even with no action item. Talk with the marketing team, talk with the HR team, talk to the finance team, R&D, understand what data they collect, what are their technical capabilities, understand who the people are, and what control do they have of the
Yeah.
data, and have specific allies in each department, because the DPO, of course, cannot sustain it by himself. So as we all know, it's a matter of not only business but individuals. So understand who your relevant people or relevant trustees in the relevant department, understand their business, and then after you have it, try to build a process which will be easier for them to digest and implement easy within the relevant systems. Don't make it top down and you need to make it work like this. No, work with them, understand what solutions they can accept, and then go backwards and say, okay, this can work if you do this, and that. If you have these controls, do pseudonymization, limit access, then it could work. So I would put more emphasis on this, and it will be easier to implement. And then afterwards, of course, we can improve it. And this is what we want. Let's invest time in implementing and afterwards improving it.
So if you could offer one piece of advice to your peers.
So the main privacy advice I would say is work with the business. Like, don't work. I know you're the DPO, I know you're a legal professional, and you're really keen and know about privacy, but you are part of a specific organization. You need to understand the organization. You need to understand what he can or cannot do. If you are working with the organization, first of all, you will be much more appreciated. Second of all, it will be easier to implement things. If you work against it and just say, this is the law, now you need to implement it, first of all, you will not be very popular, which is important, and then people will not implement it because, and then what you will say, you will say, yeah, I was a DPO, I said what is important, but nobody implemented it. It means you didn't do a
Yeah.
good job.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's all about people again. Collaboration is key, but it's important to build those relationships.
Completely. I think that
Yeah.
this is
100%.
the thing which DPOs sometimes do not get. It's not only about the law, it's about the business. And if you combine it well, then you will be very successful.
100%. And I think that's a great piece of advice. So that's all for today. Thank you very much, Avishai. Thank you. Really appreciate you sharing your insights.
Thank you very much, Orla. It was a pleasure.
Excellent. So thank you, everyone. If you enjoyed, remember to subscribe and share. Until next time.